Welcome
to the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 266 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. Gonna be hacking on some Firefox stuff today. Gonna be investigating some interesting issues and bugs and intermittent test failures, and who knows what's gonna go on. But I'm very excited to do it. Let's get started. I'll start by sharing my screen. So, bloop. Okay, so a reminder, no plan survives breakfast. I kind of have a sense of what I want to do today, but, things might go wrong. I've already noticed that I've dropped a number of frames. Hopefully my network connection doesn't, fall out on me. But, we're just going to do our best here. Things might go wrong. We might get stuck. We might get sidelined. That's okay. We might not come to a solution on some of the bugs that we'll be looking at today. That's all right too. You're just going to watch me as I do the work, and I'm going to be talking through it, and it's going to be fine. So that's the first thing. The second thing, the agenda that we're looking at is something that you can get access to. If you're watching this on YouTube, check out the video description. If you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it's in the video details, and if you're watching this on Twitch, I'm about to drop the link into the Twitch chat. Agendas. It's right. Oh, have I not synchronized? Have I not synchronized yet? From start to finish. Synchronize. Oh, you know what? I need to put the exported tag in order for my script to see it. So let's try that now. There we go. There it is. All right, here's the agenda. Just going to drop this into the Twitch chat. Hopefully you can see that. And the first thing I want to do is briefly talk about the episode guide. So the episode guide is a completely viewer-driven, viewer-curated set of guides to the episodes, including episodes going back to years ago up to just a couple of episodes ago. And it includes things like a link to the agenda, but also additional notes on what I was working on. And when I said it's completely viewer driven, it means viewers just like you can add to the episode guide if you'd like. If you've got your own corrections, addenda, notes, stuff that you want to expand on or correct me on, or any sort of contribution that you think would be helpful for other viewers of the series, you can send a pull request. And if you're not sure how to do that, there's a contributing guide, and here's a guide that SmurfD, one of the most prolific contributors to the episode guide, recommends. And I actually haven't looked at the episode guide in a while. I have a feeling there are a couple of episodes in the hopper. So let's take a look. So here's the episode guide. We've got up until episode 260, so we're actually quite far behind. Let's take a look at our pull requests. There are 4 pull requests. We're going to go from front to back, or back to front rather. So we're going to start with episode 261. And the way I like to review these, it's pretty straightforward. Like, I don't do a whole lot of editorial whenever I'm doing the episode guide, because remember, it's for you, so I just make sure that it seems useful. So first thing I look at is the dates and the links on things. These both look correct. And what was the topic? We were checking out about unloads. I decided to use that episode, I guess, to explore some unfamiliar code. We talked about unloads. Is it about unloads or about unload? It's about unloads. Okay. And we sort of traced through the code. We talked about we got some definitions here. Thanks for adding those. SmurfD, large and small. So if you ever hear us talking about we're talking about out of memory crashes. Let's see, OpenSearch. We talked about OpenSearch a bit, and we also looked at a Talos test that was failing periodically. And people seem to be digging the questions. Okay, so then we went through some question time. I answered some questions. I talked about MyQ only and balcony. All right, well, with that, I'm going to say this is a thumbs up situation. Let us merge this episode in. So thank you very much, SmurfD. That's one. Let's take a look at the others. 262. September 15th. That's right. We looked at some intermittent test failures. Were we looking at Was that the episode where I looked at the Jekyll thing? I thought it was earlier than that, but man, time is strange. We looked at some performance things. We didn't. Full disclosure, I never really solved that one, which is kind of a disappointment. We're looking at test time out there. We might actually end up looking at this one again today. I talked a little bit about Tree Herder and PGO, and I answered more questions, and yeah, that all looks good. So let us... Wait, hold on. I didn't realize I'd linked to MyQOnly here. Interesting. What other links are in here? Code Tribute. Oh, that's interesting. There are 2 copies of Code Tribute in the links. We should probably remove one of these copies. So I'm gonna do that right now. Oh, thank you. It's possible that previous episode guides have always, we've had this duplicate the entire time, but let's see, Mike's Firefox color theme. So I'm actually using one of the new built-in ones called, what is this one called? I think it's called Cheers Bold. This is in nightly and I think beta right now, and I'm really enjoying this color configuration. We talk about VPN and compiler. Okay, so remove a duplicate other link. And we will commit that change. And then we'll merge that stuff in. Again, it's very, I don't do a lot of editorializing. I just merge in with the stuff that seems useful. So once again, thank you, Smurf D. Thanks. Always thank your contributors. SureShack55 says, "Hi, sir. Today NS Shell Doc Day. You mean Doc Shell? We can talk about Doc Shell if you'd like. I had some other things in mind. I thought we might look at there was a what was I wanting to look at today? What's on my list? Well, I thought we might talk a little bit about web extensions. I might talk about how a patch gets into Firefox. But before I get into that, there was this like Webrtc shared global sharing indicator bug on Mac OS that I wanted to look at, and I can put a link to that. Hang on, let me find a link to the bug. 1 second. I'm doing this on my other screen because when I pull up my dashboard, it shows like all the bugs that I'm following, and some of them are security bugs, so I don't want to show you those. That one. So this one we might look at today. Let's see. Can't reopen minimize Firefox. And so if you'd like, I could talk a little bit about DocShell or what I know about DocShell if you'd like. But maybe we could get into it by way of web extensions and how they interact with them. I actually don't even know how I'm going to answer this question because I don't really know the web extension backend at all. So we might explore it a little bit together. And I don't know if this is at all interesting, but I recently talked a little bit. There's how is gbrowser and xpcom used? Can you talk about it too? Okay. So maybe I can add that to the questions at the bottom. Whoops. Okay. Well, I'll see if I can get to that today. And if I can't get to it today, I'll try and get to it next week. Okay. So we merged that one in. I'm going to merge in episode 263. Oh, 263 and 264. That's very good. So what's interesting is that this is episode 262 and 263. I wonder if this was based on... Yeah, it was based on the other commit. So I'm going to not look at the 262 one. I'm just going to look at this one, 263 and 264. Was it September 22nd? Yes, it was. 263. New toy to show off. Yeah, I showed off my new drawing tool, which was nice. And I've gotten more and more used to it. And we updated some probes. I talked a little bit about dark matter detector. Talked a little bit about studies. Went through some questions. This is another one where we've got those duplicates. So let me just fix those duplicates real quick. have the same duplicate down here in episode 264. Yeah. Talked about security bug blog. And oh yeah, this was the last episode. Wait, was it? What episode is this? 265. Oh. Oh. Interesting. I thought it was 264 that I talked about browsing context. I forgot what I was doing in episode 265, but it looks like I was doing some code review and we were looking at some other test failures. Oh, interesting. And I did a shout out and I talked about this stuff. And all right, so I'm going to correct these things at the bottom here about code tribute. I'll put this apostrophe here. Commit the change. Let's merge this in. I'm happy now. Let's do it. Merge it in. Always thank your contributor. Merge the pull request. Comment. And we're done here. So that should account for all of the... Oh, and this thing wants me to bump this dependency because apparently there's a security vulnerability. But I don't know what this tool is. And I don't know what uses it. No Kogiri. It's a Ruby gem. So presumably maybe it's for the... it's for Jekyll. All right, let's merge it in. Why not? All right. Well, with that having been done, we're done that work. The episode guide should now be more or less up to date. There's, I think, a missing episode still for episode 265. That's fine. You know, that'll come when it comes. And, you know, slowly but surely the episode guide here, the live mirror of it is going to, or the live version of it is going to update. So there you go. Episode guide done. So what's the first thing I want to look at? I want to look at that Webrtc thing. So this was filed 24 days ago. I haven't really explored this bug at all yet. So you're going to watch me. I got neat info on it, and that's what caused me to put it on the docket for today for the stream, because I thought you'd find it interesting. You're going to watch me sort of explore this bug kind of for the first time, because I've never seen this one before. I haven't read it. So hopefully it's something we can work on. Hopefully it's not like, you know, something that I would need special hardware for or something. Okay, so, oh, there's a video. That's nice. So, occurs only on Mac. Well, that's good, because that's what I have. Open Firefox, open any video calling client, allow camera and microphone permissions, join start a meeting with camera and microphone off, on, minimize Firefox through Command M or by clicking the minimize button. Actual results, Firefox is not open by clicking the icon on the dock. The microphone icon observed in the menu bar even when mic is switched off. Firefox should open the window when the icon is clicked. Is that what happens? Like if you minimize the window and you click on the icon, okay, yeah, it brings up the most recently minimized window, I guess. Like if I have two browser windows, I don't think I normally do that. Like I normally click on the little thing that's been minimized down here to bring it back. But if you have two minimized windows, I guess it'll bring back the most recently minimized one. Good to know. I didn't know that. So they have a video here. Let's check it out. Okay, it's just a video of them hammering the Firefox button and nothing happening. Let's see if we can reproduce this. So looks like this person, Nico Grunbaum, reproduced it. I can reproduce this locally. And it looks like, yeah, the legacy global indicator doesn't have the issue, but the new indicator does. It looks like clicking the Firefox item focuses the new Webrtc sharing indicator. Because it also seems to bring up the invisible indicator for mic camera sharing. This is a regression. Okay, so I think I understand what's happening having read through these comments. Let me try and explain. Let's first start by running an instance of Firefox, and then we can, I can demonstrate the issue. So yeah, the first step is usually to try and reproduce the issue. Looks like someone was able to reproduce it by going here, Webrtc, So we go here, open the camera. Sure, I'll share my virtual camera. And now I'm going to minimize. And now I click on this and nothing happens. Okay. I can bring up the window this way. Now if I minimize when I'm not sharing, then that brings the window up. Okay. Okay. I think I know what's going on. So we show these icons in the status bar on Mac OS, and it has these menus, and these menus are actually associated not with the window that's sharing, but with a hidden window that we normally don't show unless you've got a special setting configured. Let me actually show you that special setting because you might find it interesting. If you go to About Preferences, there's this section in Nightly called Nightly Experiments, and there's something down at the bottom called WebRTC Global Mute Toggles. If you turn that on, and then you open up the camera, you'll get this little indicator window, which lets you like mute and unmute the camera feed, which is really handy. But we don't have it on by default because of the fact that I think user experience and user research determined that having multiple layers of mute, because like this doesn't cause the site, like if you use Google Meet and you mute here, it doesn't say you're muted, your video is muted. Like you can't control it there as well. This is a global mute. And so you can have multiple layers of mute, and people found that very confusing. So we haven't turned it on by default, but you can, if you go into preferences, turn it on. And this is a really powerful thing because this little indicator will show up whenever you're sharing, and you can just like fully mute all of your cameras for all tabs, which is nice. Same thing with microphones. And you can move this little guy around and you can minimize it. And I have a feeling that this indicator is what is being, when you minimize this window and you click on this, what we're doing is like Mac OS is opening this. It's like saying, oh, here's the window. And normally on instances where the indicator is not enabled, like if I hit false there and reload, the indicator is not being shown, but it's still here. It's invisible. We're not showing it, we're not rendering it, but we still have it open. And the reason for that is because that window is what's managing the icons in the status bar. And so in order to have those icons show up in the status bar, we need to have this window. And that's more for like some funky stuff that we need to do for Windows. But we share the same component between Windows and Mac OS. Long story short, that's what's going wrong, is that little invisible indicator window is what's being open or focused whenever you click on the icon when you're sharing. So my first question is, what causes, whenever you click on the dock icon, are we the ones opening the window, or is Mac OS doing it? Like, is Mac OS, if I have multiple... let me open up a new window here. If I open up multiple Sublime windows and I minimize one and I hit here and I minimize this one and I hit here, that seems to, like, it's possible that Mac OS is doing the actual opening of the windows. And so there might not be the ability for us to control what happens when the user clicks on the dock. We can find out though, because I think we have some dock code in our tree. So let's see if we have anything about dock in SearchFox. Non-browser Mac, dock support, dock menu. So there's something here about dock support. Activate the application. This should be used by an application to activate itself when a dock menu is selected, as selection of a dock menu item does not automatically activate the application. So this might be what's actually being called whenever you click on the Firefox icon. We can actually test that and see if we're entering there. But before I do that, let's see where that ends up being. Yeah, there's this thing called NSMac dock support. Let's see if we enter here. And the way we're going to do that is by using a debugger. So we have our living instance of Firefox here. I'm going to show you a trick. I'm going to open up the browser console and I'm going to say services. Here, let me pump up the font so you can see what I'm writing. Services appinfo.process_id, and that tells me what the process ID is of this instance of Firefox. The parent process is 33615. So now let us open up a terminal, and we're going to open up LLDB, and I put in my password wrong. Is that right? Did I do it right? I did. Okay, and we're going to attach, oh, no, we're going to attach to the running process, which is, what was the number? 33615. So LLDB attaches to this process. Now this is an opt build of Firefox, so I'm not going to have really a great experience stepping through code, because an optimized build of Firefox will have moved a bunch of stuff around, you know, as part of the optimization layer. So you don't end up, when you step through the code, you'll often end up like jumping around all over the place. But it should understand what I mean when I say to break here, and it will know when I enter there. So let's see what happens when I click on the icon. So nothing whenever it's foregrounded. How about nothing whenever I do that? Nothing when I do that. How about if I'm not sharing? Nope. Nope. So I activate application. What does the documentation say this does again? This should be used by an application. So it's used, oh. This is actually something that we do, as opposed to, this is an API for like Firefox code to call into, rather than something that Mac OS calls into. All right. Sure, app is pinned to dock. That's actually unfortunate. Okay, so that's not going to help. Our breakpoint here is meaningless. So break disable 1. Don't need it. But it did point us in a direction. Like, it showed us that there's this API, shared application, and there's this NS Mac dock support thing. And how does this work? I don't really know how this works. This is a classic sort of like Mac OS Objective-C pattern, where you like have some kind of delegate that calls into an XPCOM component. This is an XPCOM component written in Objective-C++. Okay. Update title. Doc domain name. Well, this is interesting. Why do we need to know about different browser apps? I didn't know we do that. What are we doing with that? Your app is pinned to the dock. Oh, I think it's because we put it next to the other browsers. We'll find if there's a pre-existing browser in the dock, when we pin to the dock, we'll put it next to them. Makes sense. Makes sense. And so these are the ones we put next to. Neat. So is there a way of decorating the window so that Mac OS knows not to Sorry, I'm kind of thinking in my head here what we need to do. I wonder what would happen is if the indicator is invisible, if we minimize it immediately upon opening, so that it's minimized, but it doesn't show up in here. And then if you minimize this and click on the icon, it should bring this back. Let's try that. Let's see what will happen, because that's a pretty easy thing to try. So let's, again, pump up the font. We're going to find the code that manages the indicator. That's Webrtc indicator.js. I think Webrtc indicator.js. And visibility. If hide global indicator, set visibility false. Set visibility if is visible. If not is visible. Base. Can we minimize it? Else window.restore. Okay, let's see what happens when we do that. This is just an experiment. It's kind of a hack. But I'm curious to see what'll happen. Okay, so let's go back to our get user media example. Open the camera. Sure, I'm going to use the OBS virtual camera again. So our camera's working. Now, we automatically like put these things inside of, yeah, these invisible, yeah, this isn't going to work because now we've got like these kind of invisible things hanging out in there. Like, yes, you get this as well. No, you get this really bizarre behavior. This is not going to work out. Okay. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, nope, nope. How do we get it so that macOS ignores the window? Maybe that'd be nice. And that's something we'd have to do sort of at the native level, I think. But let's see. We do this stuff on base window and set visibility. Well, let's look at the interface for base window and see whether or not there's a way to be ignored. That might be a way. I don't know. Maybe. Let's see what happens if we say the window is not enabled. I actually don't know what's going to happen. Like if the set visibility on the window, app window, what happens when we say set enabled? Will be under widget enable, and on Cocoa window, enable. Yeah, no, this isn't going to do anything. That's a no op. So never mind that. Let's see what macOS does. Like whenever you, can we like handle macOS doc click item? Is there an API for that? Cocoa application event doc click item. NS application. Doc. Accessing the doc tile. The apps doc tile. The image. Is there anything useful about a doc tile? No. notifications. They have hide method to indicate that the app is now hidden. App is now visible. App's about to be hidden. Will terminate. Occlusion state. Cocoa application doc click event. Here we go. A reopen event. On reopen. Reopen event. Trap on should open untitled. What? What is this? Apple script. Oh. On should open untitled. A reopen event. Is there something in here about reopen? Reopen under widget. No. Cocoa application reopen event. Receive various notifications used, for example, did become active, various notifications. Application will finish launching, did finish launching. Application did become active. Will become active. Application did become active. It doesn't look like. Oh, here we go. Application did become active. We get the observer service. We notify the observer's active observer topic, which is Mac app activate. When an app shell is activated by the Mac OS, this topic is notified. Currently, this only happens on Mac OS. And who listens to that? The find bar, of all things. Why? On app activate Mac. Something to do with the clipboard. Oh, interesting. We'll like maybe pre-fill if we're perhaps interesting. There's like an accessibility API that allows us to pre-fill with whatever's in the clipboard. So if we switch back to the application and that pref is true, then we'll pre-fill that into the clipboard. I had no idea. So maybe we could listen to this. Let's see what happens in the Webrtc indicator. Do we ever use the observer service? No. But we can. Services, obs, add observer. This topic, Mac, app, activate. And we'll put a constant up here. Mac app activate. And is there an un in it? Or an unload? On unload. Oh, there's load and unload. That's probably where we should... Here. That's where we should do our observer stuff. On unload. Unload and on unload. Unload. On unload. to satisfy the observer API. So observe topic, subject topic data. If topic equals topic, then we will dump saw Mac app activation topic. We'll just log that to the console. So let's see if this works. Nothing too fancy. Huh. Nothing. No observer notifications being fired there. Oh, whenever I foreground it. So it's whenever the application is foregrounded that the activation topic will fire, but not just clicking this. That's no good. That's no good. Not enough. Did become active. Smurf D is sending some stuff. NS events. These are more about user input events. I don't think they're about like application state events. I think this is what like will become active, should terminate. Managing windows. Allows delegate to supply a dock menu. Let's see what that is. Managing the screen, continuing user activities. Application will continue user activity. Application did fail. Continue user. Push notifications, opening files, printing, restoring application state. Scripting your app, type methods. Menu bar visible. Insert item. Hang on. Mac OS click dock restore window. Who talks about this? No. Application should handle reopen. Gets the deminiaturized minimized window behavior working if I ensure this file is a delegate for NS application. Interesting. Do we ever... Oh, we do. The method that NS application calls upon a request to reopen, such as when the dock icon is clicked and no windows are open. A visible window may be miniaturized so we can't handle NS Cocoa native reopen if flag is true. So we're told whether or not we have visible windows. Go to the common carbon cocoa reopen method. Reopen. Native app support reopen. Reopen. Native. App support base reopen. Cocoa. We get the window mediator. Aha! We do this ourselves. I'll bet you, you know what? I got a feeling this is what gets called. I got a good feeling. Okay, I got a feeling. Please don't sue me, Black Eyed Peas. but I got a good feeling about this. I'm going to revert all this stuff. Don't need it. Don't need it. But what I'm going to do is we're going to use our debugger again, because I have a feeling that whenever we attach a breakpoint to this chunk of code that we just found, that it's going to be called, and that we're actually handling the finding of the right window. And that's good because we can alter that behavior. So 485. Attach 485. Break here. Continue. Yes. So if I like minimize this and minimize this, and I click on this, yes. All right, and it's doing the choosing. It's doing the choosing. All right. Okay. I've got a good feeling about this. So we can now look at this function. Native app support Cocoa reopen and see what it's doing. No, stop. Please stop. I don't want to have that song stuck in my head for the rest of the day. Yeah, sorry, Danny Colin. Let me try to get you a different song stuck in your head. I'm just gonna freestyle jazz with my mouth. There you go. All right, so NS native app support. Native app support Cocoa. Reopen. This is the good stuff. We check to see if we have any miniaturized open windows. What I think we should also add to this list is to make sure that the windows are visible. Whatever window we found is visible. So it's like, because like we must be going through the window list. And if we find a window, then we say, okay, we have open windows. And then we go through, for each window, we get at the main widget. Get the nav window, and if it's minimized, if we have unminimized windows, nothing to do. We should also check to see if it's visible. I think that's what we should do. Deminiaturize the most recently used window. Most recently used. Get most recent window. If we don't have non-miniaturized. So here's what I'm thinking. If not widget, if not base window, or base window, if get visible. What's M next? No, get visibility. Get visibility. Window base when get visibility, and then you pass it, right? Okay, this is what you do. Bool visible equals false. Base window get visibility visible. So that's gonna write the visibility value into the visible boolean here as an out param. If not visible, then we're gonna iterate to the next one. Let's see if that helps. Quit. Go away. We're gonna build. So, oh, have I? Someone appears to have made some kind of clip of me freestyling with my mouth on the internet. I hope I have not embarrassed or dishonored my whole family. All right, let's do this. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna, well, first of all, let's make sure that it still works the way we expect. Yes. And now I'm going to open the dialog, the hidden window, minimize this. And what happens when I click on the dock? Ah! Not the right thing. Not the right thing. I wonder if it's actually not the fact that we need to make sure that the most recently used window that we find. Actually, hang on. What I'm actually curious about is where we get to in this. So let's maybe try walking through this. So let's run that again. Oh, hey Barrett. Hey Barrett. Barrett is the one who put the clip out there. Thank you for that. Good to hear from you, Barrett. I hope you're well. I hope you're well. It's been a while. Let's attach our LLDB. Attach. And we're going to set our breakpoint here, and we're going to step through here. I'm actually, I'm wondering whether or not this is where we want to maybe manipulate things, where we get the most recent window that is not invisible, if we can somehow add that condition. But let's see what happens whenever we like reproduce this again. Continue. So open camera, allow, minimize. I'm gonna close this, and now hit. Okay, so let's step through. We get the window mediator, get the window list. We get a window. Is the window visible? I don't know. It must be. Is the window minimized? We go to the end of the loop. See, this is the problem. Like, we're just jumping around because this is optimized code, so I don't actually know what just happened. Get another window. If it's not visible, okay. So do we have open windows? We must not have non-miniaturized. If we don't have any non-miniaturized windows, so we must have a non-miniaturized window. have open windows. Do we have any non-miniaturized windows? See, that's the problem, is it thinks that we have a non-miniaturized window. That's the first problem. Okay. So why? So I'm just going to do some classic printf debugging here. We are evaluating a window. Window is visible. Oh, window is not visible. Window is visible. Found a non-miniaturized window. All right, let's just try and trace through what's happening. And at the very least, the invisible Webrtc window isn't minimized or miniaturized, but it's also not visible. That's the thing, Hattie. Like, we should be bailing out here because it's not visible, I think. So we shouldn't even get there. We shouldn't even check to see whether it's miniaturized. That's my hope, anyways. Evaluating a window, window is visible. Evaluating window, window is visible. Found a non-miniaturized window. So it actually thinks that the window is visible. Oh, I think I know what's going wrong here. Oh no. Oh no. I think I remember this. I think this is a really weird thing. Where we always claim to be visible. We always claim to be visible. Oh, that's not good. Page loading and background tab steals keyboard focus from text area and foreground tab when the background tab jumps. This is for Camino. I wonder if this is still necessary. This was 12 years ago, and this seems like a bad idea still. Page loaded and background tab steals keyboard focus from text area and a foreground tab. Open several forum topics and tabs. This was 16 years ago. Reply to one topic after pressing the submit button. Switch tabs to the long tab. In your long tab, press the spacebar periodically a page down. Interesting. Is there a test case? Click me using the keyboard shortcut. Background tab. What? Hold on. Click me using the keyboard shortcut to open links in a background tab. This link loads a bug via an anchor to a comment. Try comment 6 and comment 10. Several form topics. Reply to one topic. Switch tabs to the long tab. I wonder if we can get away with doing the right thing now. I'd be very curious because, like, this is really unintuitive. The this thing. Did they write an automated test case when they fixed this? Tell me they wrote an automated test case. Tell me we still have the automated test case. We do not. This is such a weird idea. I mean, if this is not a good idea, then one thing we could do is also ask the Cocoa window whether or not it's visible. But it'd be better if this just returned the truth. Set visibility. What you almost want is to read the Windows visibility state. If we can do that, whoops, widget. Set visibility is visible. Yeah. I mean, we could use that as well. I don't know if it's worth changing the world. I don't want to. But let's see what happens. Let's just try a thing here. And in app window, get visibility. We're going to try returning the truth. Window, widget show, widget is visible. What does that do on Mac OS? Cocoa is visible in Cocoa window. Yeah. And in Win32 is visible. Yeah, M is visible, and in GTK is visible is shown. Okay, so I think we can do this. Visibility equals window is visible. So let's see what that does. Quit. Yeah, this is a 16-year-old bug for Camino. And if you don't remember, Camino is a now defunct, long dead project, which was to use Gecko in it was like a Mac OS specific web browser built with not using Zool, but like native Mac OS widgetry. That was the goal of Camino. All right, so let's first do this. Looks good. Window is not visible. Evaluating window. Window is not visible. Maybe because it was minimized. Open camera. Okay. Allow. Minimize. Found. Window. Evaluating window. Oh. Here it is. Why did it suddenly get made visible? Somehow evaluating it seemed to have made it visible. That's not good. All right, I'm bailing out of this idea. What I'm going to try and do instead then is if Cocoa window is miniaturized. And what was the other thing? Cocoa. Is visible or being shown. If Cocoa window and not... Wait. And Cocoa window is visible or being shown. Found a non-miniaturized visible window. And what does is visible or being shown mean? Cocoa. Seriously? Cocoa window. There's no documentation? Apple. Apple. Documentation, please. Come on. Are we the only ones who use this? Is this a thing that we defined ourselves? Oh, maybe it is a thing that we defined ourselves. Is visible or being shown. The getter is super is visible or M being shown. M being shown is set being shown. When we show the window. So it's in mid state of being shown. Is visible or being shown. All right, well, let's see. Because whenever we set visibility on a window in Cocoa, NS Cocoa window, set visibility, what do we do? NS app window, set visibility. What we do is we say show, window show, shown. If we say to make it show false, then we would say what do we do? Be state. Set being shown should be set to false. And then we probably go to the, this is the other behavior. So this is hiding. If we're of type sheet, we're not. If it's a top level, then we'll roll up all the pop-ups. No matter what, we'll say remove the child window. If the window is a pop-up with a parent window, we need to unhook it before ordering it out. Then we order out. What does that mean, order out? I don't know what that means. But presumably we should fail this case now. Someone asked whether or not we should check to see how Google Chrome handles such cases. Yeah, we could do that. See, it brings us back up. All right, well, yeah, Google Chrome does have a similar little indicator. Let's see it. Nope, this one. Open camera. Oh, you see my green screen. See, it didn't even let me choose which device. That's garbage. Okay, and now oh, it doesn't show an indicator. It doesn't show an indicator. It only does that if I use like share my screen. Webrtc share display. Let's share this display. Yeah, we have this little indicator at the bottom. Now, if I minimize this and hit the Google Chrome icon, it does bring this back. That's interesting. So how did they do it? And that they didn't even... They don't even make it... I guess you can hide this. Yeah, you can minimize it. And if I do that... Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that. Now, if I do that in the reverse order... Hide. Hide. Yeah, bring back... Okay. Let's see how they're doing it. Maybe we can draft off of their solution. So presumably they also listen to that reopen thing. So that's where I would start, is reopen. And reopen is coming at us from where? Mac application delegate under application should handle reopen. So Chromium, when I search the Chromium source code, I use this tool. Shim delegate controller Mac, that sounds right. Here we go. If the browser's trying to quit, bring all all browser windows to the front. Specifically, this brings them in front of any app windows. Focus window set walls on minimize most recently. Minimize one if no windows inside are visible. Panels notifications, we need to open a new window. Get browser native windows. So only goes through the browser native windows. Interesting. Whereas when we go through the list for reopening, we are going through all app windows. We're getting the app window enumerator because we have several different types of windows. And for some reason, checking if a window is visible or being shown causes it to become visible, which is a weird thing. Is visible or being shown. Super is visible. Window is visible. Do we do something special with the Webrtc indicator to hide it? I think we do. To hide it from the list. In window menu. This will hide the indicator from the window menu when not visible. And I wonder if we could use that as a signal. Document element. That'd be a pain in the butt to get access to that. We have to go get down to the document. And get to the document element. Like, that would not be ideal. Why is getting at the Cocoa windows like visibility causing it to display? I'm very curious about that. That to me is like an issue. is visible or being shown. We check to see if visible, and we are of type what? This is of NS window is visible. Indicates whether it's visible on screen. It shouldn't have any side effects. So what happens if I just like return that? Checking for unminimized, unminiaturized visible window. And I wonder if it's not this part that's doing it. Well, no, because it is visible. Let's just see what happens. So it brought this guy up. So interestingly, in this case, it didn't find one. We never entered non-miniaturized. But we're not done. Then we call command line run. If let's just like return as okay here. We F non-miniaturized. Oh, so maybe this is the part that's doing it. If non-miniaturized, we get the most recent window. Get most recent window. Most recent window. The window mediator. But if that fails, also tries Gecko View and Mail 3 pane. Yeah, what about get most recent browser window? Maybe that's what we want. And it will do the right thing on sounds like it'll do the right thing on Thunderbird. I did not do that correctly. Capital G. So in a way, by doing it this way, we'll be doing something very similar to what Chromium does, which is to just use the browser windows, the native browser window list. So that way, if you only have like the problem is that we have multiple different types of windows. So if you don't have like, if you only have the library window open, yeah, see, this does the right thing now. That's what you want. But failing this, if not MRU, then we should probably do the other thing. Get most recent window. I think that would do it. Deep. Prioritize main browser windows for deminiaturization. And failing that, deminiaturize the most recently window. Okay. Then I think we can go back to is visible or being shown here. This might be the patch, folks. And this is going to be hard to write an automated test for. I don't know how you'd write an automated test for this. I don't think any of our test frameworks are designed to work this way. Warning, method is visible or being shown is not found. Instance method. It's on Cocoa window, though. Is visible or being shown. Who? What do you mean? Cocoa window. Then how do I access it? Does anyone use this thing? M window. Oh, that's the widget window, not the Cocoa window. If widget. If not widget, if widget is visible here, or and then we get rid of this. Feeling good, feeling better. Feeling good and better. Now, I am able to hack this like Mac OS Cocoa stuff, but I'm definitely going to want a review from our Mac OS people to think through this stuff. Make sure I haven't done the wrong thing, or, you know, unless there's like, maybe there's a better way of doing things. So like, let's just do the base case here. Yeah, that works. Now let's turn on the Webrtc mute toggles. Minimize this. Right, minimize that. See, it prioritizes bringing this back, which is nice. I think that's actually preferable. So the other thing is, like, if you've got like multiple windows open, let's open up the library window, and I minimize this one, and then I minimize this one. Clicking this is going to bring back the browser window. Now, if I only have the library window open, clicking this should bring back the library window. Yes. So I think we're in good shape. So let us commit and post this patch for review. Let's look at the diff so far. What was this bug number? Bug such and such. Prioritize. Ignore invisible windows when reopening app from dock, and prioritize top level browser windows for restoration. Let's see what Marcus thinks. Submit, tip, single. Let's see what Marcus thinks. Oh, there's a typo there. Let me... So I will submit tip single. And with that, I think I'm going to call it. You know, we got somewhere. And so hopefully I can get this landed, or if Marcus doesn't approve of this approach, maybe he can offer an alternative. But at least we have one potential solution. So we'll see what happens. If you're curious about how this goes, you can follow along here. Here's the review. Now, I realize there are some questions here. I didn't get to these. So maybe I can save these for next time. I'm going to see if I can try and answer some of these questions really quick. I am a CS student, and I often find myself spending too much time doing assignments, trying to be as perfect as possible, especially for less useful activities like networking. How would you deal with perfectionism? So the general rule of thumb is the perfect is the enemy of the done. Start small. It's better to have something that you can tinker with and improve incrementally rather than having something perfect right out the gate. That's my philosophy. Especially because, like, software is never perfect. There are always problems with it. There are always bugs with it. Like, sufficiently complex software is never perfect. So something like a browser, for example, or an operating system, right? Even just like a relatively complicated school assignment, there are always going to be problems with it. It will never be perfect. There will always be problems, and it can always be improved. Like maybe there is an optimal solution for like very specific, well-defined problems, but for general things like, I don't know, let's say your assignment is to like build a game engine or something. There can be so many different ways of improving it, and improving it in different ways. Improving developer ergonomics for a game engine versus performance or stability or blah, 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 blah. And so it's better to have something that just get something started and get it working to a certain degree, and then improve it incrementally. Ship the .1 release, then the .2 release, and improve it until it's like you feel it's stable, and then there's your 1.0. And maybe during that sort of incremental improvement, you'll go, you know what would be great is if we burn this whole thing down and start from scratch. And sometimes that's, if you have the time and the ability, you can do that. You use the first one as kind of like the throwaway experience where you develop it, incrementally improve it until you've kind of like felt the problem space, and then you go, okay, throw it away and now build it correctly this time. Yeah, I've heard that approach happen as well, and you can do it that way. But my philosophy is like build something that seems to work for the most part. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's better than trying to like build a pristine crystalline temple of design, like doing it all in your head and trying to like get it perfect as soon as your hands touch the keyboard. It's like you're almost sabotaging yourself because you won't be able to get started, because it can always get better. I will be creating a web application from scratch for about 5 months, one semester from October to the end of February. I'm wondering about the number of functions to implement. How does setting scope work in the real world? What are your experiences with this topic? There's a lot of unknowns here. There are are a lot of unknowns in this question. I don't know, for example, what this application is supposed to do. So it's hard for me to know the number of functions to implement, or like how to architect it or something. Is this a web application that's supposed to be able to handle a bunch of simultaneous traffic? Or is it just like a simple tool? Is there a database? Is it a single page web application that's all client side? I have no idea. So there are a lot of unknowns. It's very difficult for me to say. So my first recommendation is to look at the problem space. What are the requirements? What are the actual requirements? And like design your solution to hit those requirements. And so, that's almost like product management thinking. Start with the requirements. What are they, to use some like kind of technology design speak here, what are the user stories? What should the user be able to do? This is almost like a concept from HCI, but like storyboard it or write out a user story. A user X is supposed to be able to do this, then this, then this, then that. Without going into too much detail about how they do it, what are the tasks they need to be able to complete? And from there, design your solution to satisfy those tasks. And from there, from those designs, like construct an implementation to fit that design and refine and refine and refine. So part of me thinks that maybe you're kind of reaching too far ahead, trying to figure out how many things to implement. Start by thinking about the problem as it's defined and figuring out what the requirements are, and then design your solution. What's the minimum viable solution that you think you can get done in time, and then like break that down into various functions in an architecture. That's how I would do it. What are your learning processes when you are a junior, still a beginning? Did you read books, attend courses? Did you read documentation in conjunction with learning by doing? What did I do when I was a junior, still a beginner? Let's see. What were the best learning processes? Try stuff. Go and download a piece of open source software, build it, follow the instructions, try and get it building, and then make incremental change. Like try and make a small change to it. Try stuff. Try cloning Mozilla Central, building Firefox, and then changing a string, something small to start, and then start exploring. Every computer program, as daunting as Mozilla Central is, as like the source code is, like millions of lines of code, as daunting as it is, when you break it down, it is understandable. Yes, there's a lot of abstraction, a lot of unknowns. It's like a city, and it's hard to, you can't fit all the maps and all the plumbing and all the buildings and all the wiring of a city in your head. You can't do it. But you can become familiar with buildings. And so find a chunk of a piece of software that you like. I'm picking on Firefox as an example, but it could be any open source piece of software. And then just kind of start exploring, explore a chunk of it. Not the whole thing. I mean, if you really want, you could start at main and start like walking through how it initializes and walk through it. But like maybe there's a particular chunk that you just want to become very familiar with. And that will beget sort of like other questions, because invariably different components will talk to other components. So in the same way that a building is next to another building, or has like wiring running or plumbing running to different buildings or something, or different rooms in a building, you can use that first component as like a stepping stone to learn about the next component. And like you slowly start building out this graph in your head of like how things talk to one another. And take notes. Use a note-taking app. I use Joplin. Take notes, write down your assumptions and test them. Use the scientific method. Create a hypothesis. Figure out a way of testing that hypothesis. And then record the results. Repeat. So for example, I I assume that this code, like you saw me kind of do it today, I assume that this function is related to what happens when you click on the dock button. And I made a couple of assumptions early on. I didn't write this down. I did it verbally, but I was like, I assume that that's true. Now that's a hypothesis. Now a way of testing that hypothesis is attaching my debugger and setting a breakpoint on that function and then repeating the steps to see whether or not I actually hit my breakpoint whenever I click on the dock icon. And for the first few, the answer was no. So those hypotheses, I can throw them right out and I've learned something. So that's always kind of been my approach, use the scientific method. I do use books. I recently bought a book. I bought this book on Rust. It's called Hands on Rust, which if you are not familiar with it, I just bought it. Hands on Rust. I just bought it as a gift to myself. Effective learning through 2D game development and play. And I find that that's oftentimes the best way to learn something is to make sure that what you're learning is something that interests you. Like if you're building something neat that you want to like tinker with like a game. Games are a classic example because who doesn't like games? I shouldn't generalize, but a lot of people like video games. I like video games. Maybe you like video games. Maybe you have an interest in building a simple video game. And so using that as a sort of a learning rationale or a mechanism for learning a thing. Maybe you want to learn JavaScript. Maybe start by trying to learn how to build a game in JavaScript. A very simple one. Start small. Like, can I build the 3-shell game in JavaScript just with text? That's really simple. It's like a random number generator between 1 and 3, input and output. That's like the very, very simple. Start there and then work your way up. The next thing would be something like, okay, can I make JavaScript generate a random maze, or just show me a maze that I've pre-programmed and then notice whenever I've have a character walk through it and reach the end. Now try and randomly generate a maze. Now try to build a Tetris. Rebuild some classics. Work your way up to a first-person shooter. I actually had a book somewhere. Tips and Tricks of the Game Programming Gurus. I remember this is what really got me into C when I was younger. I had this book. I got it from a store called Chapters that we have here in Canada. And I picked this up, and it got me introduced to C and trigonometry. I finally figured out how raycasting worked because of this book. And it wasn't just raycasting. It was like scaling algorithms. It's like a lot of old school 90s technology. This stuff is really out of date now. This was built in written in 94. So, if you're familiar with Unity or any of the modern game engines like Unreal, this stuff is primitive, but it's a lot of fundamentals that would have been useful in the 90s that if you're like me and you like retro games in the 90s, this stuff in here is kind of gives you a sense of how they built it. And so I learned a lot of C just by reading this book and trying stuff out, and there were exercises that I could do. So that's my recommendation, I think, for learning process is learn by doing. But you can read books, take notes, use the scientific method, and try to do something that you enjoy as your motivator. And that often works for me. This is too big a question, so I'm going to answer this next time. I will add that to my list of questions for next time. So let's see here. Next time. And then maybe we'll get back to these. So hopefully that was interesting. Let me know what you thought of this episode. You can do that by filling out the Rate This Episode form here in the agenda. Fill it in. I read everything that comes in. That's where you can ask me questions, and I'll try and answer them during the stream. So feel free to do that and reach out and say hello. And tell your friends. And you can send me a message over Twitter. You can comment on YouTube. Do all that, engagement stuff. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your kids, tell your siblings, whatever. Anyone who you think would be interested in my stream, maybe let them know. No obligation. I'm not trying to make this into a business. Okay, so with that, I'm going to close. Thank you so much for watching episode 266 of The Joy of Coding. I hope you have yourselves a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.